Hello, this is a training for the city/town staff for the MS4 stormwater permit. This will go into the topics of illicit discharge, good housekeeping, sediment and erosion control measures. The first topic that is going to be discussed is about illicit discharges. So, what exactly is an illicit discharge? It is any non-permitted discharge to a stormwater sewer system, the MS4 system, that is not stormwater. So anything such as leaking sanitary sewer or water mains, illegal floor drain or sewage connections, seasonal draining of swimming pools, including saltwater pools, failing septic systems, spills, or illegal dumping. This can also include stuff like paint or oil sheens or sediment runoff. Anything that doesn't look like it should be in a storm drain that looks like it's some type of contaminant overall. Discharge frequency. There are three types of illicit discharge flows. Continuous, which is occurring most of the time or all of the time, and it's easy to detect and typically produce a constant pollutant load. Intermittent, which occurs over shorter periods of time, such as a few days or a few days a year. It's harder to detect due to timing inconsistencies and pollutant load varies. And lastly, the transitory, which occurs rarely, usually as a response from a single event. Rarely as in no consistent timing, many of our illicit discharges are transitory. And those tend to be things such as spills, tank failures, sewer breaks, transport incidents. The majority are from illegal dumping. It's very hard to detect and usually discovered from being reported. High potential for severe water quality damage. So a lot of times we see things like paint going into drains, or somebody might see water quality issues in the creek itself, and generally those are reported from any town staff or citizens that report it to us. Allowed illicit discharges. So this is an example. These are various examples of illicit discharges that are considered to be allowed. They are water line flushing, rising groundwaters, discharges from potable water sources, air conditioning, condensation, water from crawl space pumps, individual residential car washing, street wash water, landscape irrigation, uncontaminated groundwater infiltration, foundation drains, irrigation water, footing drains, flows from riparian habits and wetlands, diverted stream flow, uncontaminated pumped groundwater, flows from emergency firefighting, springs, lawn watering, dechlorinated swimming pools, excluding saltwater pools, removal of MS4 blockages with potable water. Indicators of illicit discharge. So what are we looking for? So generally you're going to be looking for any deposits or stains. Many tend to be from chemicals which have left residues behind. A lot of times we get stuff like oil sheens or any other contaminants that seem to leave a discoloration on the pavement. Abnormal vegetation and benthic growth. So things like fertilizers, some cleaning products, etc. And those will generally encourage plant growth, in particularly algae. And this comes from the phosphates. Another indicator is floatables. So there might be litter or debris that floats, indicates dumping or littering. Turbidity, so this would include sediment, missing silt fences, dumping. This is primarily the majority of the notice of violations that we hear about is from sediment runoff due to construction sites not being maintained. And these tend to fill up ditches and storm drains and go into the water. Odors, there might be a certain type of odor that doesn't seem like it's supposed to be there. So there might be sewage or certain chemicals that might have been used that will need to be reported. Oil sheens, as I keep mentioning, indicate dumping of motor oil or cooking grease. Note stagnant waters often have a sheen to them caused by bacteria. So you have to make sure that you can decipher between the differences of those. So the next thing to look for is color. So for construction runoff, you'll generally see sediment, concrete water, greases, and some paints. So those tend to be more of a dirt color. I know in North Carolina we kind of have more of a red clay color, so that's much easier to detect. So there will be radiator fluid. Those are different colors for sure. Paints and dyes that have unnatural and bright colors. Red discharges can also indicate diesel spills. And algae can indicate fertilizer or sewage and animal waste. So to continue with color, you might notice a white discharge. That could be paint, glue, sealant, or similar paint/latex products. A red discharge could indicate paint or diesel fuel spills. And typically a green tint is an algae growth, but this photo is from an antifreeze discharge. Odor is a subjective from one person to the next, but this is a good indicator for out-of-sight discharges. So something like a smell like rotten eggs might indicate that there's a hydrogen sulfide that has been decaying from organic matter or acids. Gasoline, so solvents, could be things that are from fuels, petroleum products, or chemicals. Pungent might mean that there might have been chlorine or ammonia or other strong chemicals. A sour odor might indicate that there is greases, acids, and other putrid substances. Floral/pepperminty might indicate industrial cleaning products, soaps, or deodorizers. And lastly, sweet might indicate something along the lines of food waste, cleaning, or other chemical products. So some other indicators might include an excessive algae growth, and this might suggest that there is high nutrient discharge, which typically would be from fertilizers. The next photo shows that there is a dead zone from an outfall, and this has been due to a toxic chemical. Note that the lack of plant growth near the outfall and under the water, which would also give you signs that something wrong is going on and that water quality is not doing well. So the next one would be highly turbid water from construction site runoff with failing or overwhelmed sediment and erosion control measures. So when erosion control measures are not properly put into place, things such as this can occur, and so this amount of sediment runoff going into the storm drain can cause water quality issues. More indicators might be abnormal vegetation, so that means mostly dead, indicating that there has been pollutants that are nearby, deposits and staining, so anything that you see inside of an outfall or a storm drain or an inlet or an outlet that might have some type of staining in it or other might indicate that. If you see in a drain or other that there might be fats, grease, food oils, this could be surface scum. This can happen especially outside certain factories that might produce food. Wash water, this can be from detergents and soaps. And also floatables such as food waste can also be in there. So knowing the differences between a natural phenomena versus illicit discharges. So here's examples. So in the first picture, there's an iron bacteria with clumps and irregular edges, versus the photo next to it, which shows an oil discharge with smoothly swirling appearances. So to continue this, an example would be like in this photo, foam in the creek is indicating a possible discharge of soap or other surfactant, versus in the next photo, it is showing a natural occurring from often confused with soap discharges. A lot of times there's a bubbly, it does look like soap, it's a bubbly form, and it's actually, a lot of the times it's leaves breaking down in the water, so making sure to know the difference between those. It's important. Enforcement. A lot of you guys are in the field day in, day out, so if you see anything that we've mentioned, it's important to make sure that you're able to report it to us at the Western Piedmont Council of Governments. This will allow us to have better drinking water and cleaner streams and lakes. If you can report them to Haley Hopkins, and my email is below there. And I have also put my phone number, and also feel free to use our reporting tool that we have on our stormwater website. It will be linked in the video as well. The next subject that we are going to discuss is good housekeeping. So what exactly is stormwater good housekeeping? This is the practice of ensuring the municipality follows good stormwater practices to prevent municipal facilities/practices from becoming sources of pollution. This consists of, and it is not limited to, vehicle fueling and maintenance, vehicle washing, storing materials, correct disposal of hazardous/polluting materials, and more. Vehicle fueling. Monitor fueling activity. Don't walk away or trust that the pump will shut off to avoid the risk of a spill. Don't hose down fueling areas. The water can wash built-up fuel and vehicle pollutants into storm drains. Instead, use dry methods of cleaning, or block off storm drains if hosing is required. Clean up fuel spills immediately, even minor ones. Use an absorbent material to collect the spilt fuel and then dispose of it properly. Auditors will be looking for spill stains. And make sure that there are spill cleaning kits at every site that has any type of chemical that could spill. So a lot of times you got to make sure that you have them at the gas pumps or any area that might have oil containment areas. And lastly, never pour fuel or allow spilt fuel to enter the storm drain. Just 1 quart of motor oil can potentially contaminate 250,000 gallons of water. 1 gallon of gasoline can contaminate 750,000 gallons of water. Prevent exposure to rain. Fuel barrels, pumps, extra cans, etc. should be kept under some type of tarp or preferably under a roof. Prevents runoff from containers and further pollution prevention. Don't hose down fueling areas. The water can wash built up fuel and vehicle pollutants into storm drains. Instead, use dry methods of cleaning or block off storm drains if hosing is required. Off-site fueling. Keep spill cleanup supplies on hand, absorbent similar to cat litter. Refuel as far away from storm drains as possible. Vehicle maintenance. Damageless leaking vehicles should avoid being near storm inlets. Do not park a leaking vehicle in a location where it can reach a storm drain. Parked indoors or under some type of cover to keep it from the rain/runoff. Collect leaking fuels. Some vehicles, such as garbage trucks, may leak out pollutants due to their function rather than their misuse. Make sure that your garbage trucks are not parked next to a storm drain. Monitor drip pans and empty as needed. Record/report damages and leaking fluids. Make sure that you are keeping a log/report or documentation of a lot of things that you guys are doing with vehicle maintenance and anything to ensure that you are mitigating any possible leaks. Hazardous material storage. Any item or agent with the potential to cause harm to humans, animals, or the environment. Almost all hazardous chemicals are regulated for distribution, use, disposal, and cleanup in some aspect. Part of the facility stormwater plan is listing chemicals that the facility stores/uses. Any chemical used or stored in the facility needs to have a label outlining its hazard/contents or remain in its original container. Label your containers. So this includes everything inside the facility as well. DEQ will fine each individual container that is not labeled accordingly. And if it is not labeled with anything in it, they will also get that as well. Spill response and cleanup. Be prepared. Know proper responses and procedures for your facility and for the spilled material. Know the location of the storm drains. Protect/cover the inlets immediately. Locate spill cleanup supplies. And this would include things like rags, absorbents, drain covers, etc. A spill kit should be inside your facility and near anything that could have a spill. And employees need to make sure that they are able to know what to do with the spill kits as well. Clean up and dispose of spent absorbents. Reapply absorbents as needed. Spill response and cleanup. Absorbents. Things such as granular products, absorbent pads and mats, drum covers and pillows. Always check when supplies need to be replenished. Having a fully stocked spill kit is very, very important at all times. DEQ will fine for this, for sure. Vehicle washing. Do not hose off vehicles into storm drains. Wash water should only enter drains that are treated. Use designated wash bays where possible. Washing vehicles in an area that drains into grass is a good alternative since the grass/soil filters pollutants out of runoff. You guys need to be making sure that you guys are washing your vehicles in wash bays and not just directly on the pavement, as it just goes right into a storm drain. So all the contaminants that are coming off the vehicle and all the dirt that is collected in the tires is just going right into the storm drain. This would be a very, very hefty fine that DEQ would impact. Facility and road maintenance. Regularly sweeping streets and using dry methods. Using things such as broom, vacuum equipment, or street sweepers. Avoid hosing down and power washing to prevent road pollutants from entering the storm drains. Regularly checking and cleaning up conveyances prone to litter/debris buildup. There needs to be a log of every time that a litter sweep occurs and areas that is occurring in, and kind of have some type of schedule. DEQ is going to want to have some type of system that you guys are using to ensure that you guys are properly maintaining the storm drains. Stockpiles and staging. Do not place stockpiles in areas prone to flooding. Keep stockpiles covered, contained, and elevated. Sweep up any loose materials that escape containment. If a silt fence needs to be moved to access the area for work, ensure it is back up when you leave to avoid sediment and erosion control violations. The next subject that is going to be discussed is sediment and erosion control. What is sediment pollution/runoff? Sediment is one of the most common pollutants of the waterways in North Carolina. During construction, the topsoil and vegetation is graded away, leaving loose soil exposed to stormwater. Without having any vegetation, such as grass cover or rooted plants, the soil will be washed away and into stormwater ditches, inlets, and roads. Sediment entering waterways creates turbidity, lowers water quality, and increases treatment costs for the drinking water. Erosion control. Minimizing disturbed area and protecting natural features in soil. Phase construction activities. Control stormwater runoff. Example would be temporary ditches and drains. Stabilize soils, protect slopes. Example would be coir fiber matting and rolled products. Sediment control. Protect inlets with wattle barriers, rock inlet straps, inserts. Establish perimeter controls such as silt fences. And now silt fences don't always continue to work the entire time of construction. They generally do need to be reinforced, especially with the heavy rainfalls that we get in North Carolina. Retainment sediment on site. Temporary basin/ponds, sediment dams, and skimmers. Established stabilized construction exists. Would typically be gravel, and maintenance of control. Going further into silt fence. So these are made of a permeable geotextile that is buried at the bottom. This allows for water to drain through it while capturing sediment of any runoff that passes through it. It breaks up sheet flow and decreases runoff velocity and allows suspended sediment particles to settle. Typically, it surrounds the downslope areas of construction sites. If you work near, take down a silt fence, put it back up when you leave. Otherwise, the city can be responsible for any sediment runoff discharges. Construction entrance. A graveled area where vehicles enter and exit a construction site. This will generally consist of a gravel pad underlined with geotextile fabric. It provides a buffer area that allows for sediment on vehicle tires to be deposited before entering roadways. Often the gravel will shift over time or will become overwhelmed with sediment needing to be replaced. Inlet protection / wattles. Wattle, a tubular product made of fibers encased in a biodegradable netting, temporarily traps sheet flow. Needs to be replaced once they become saturated with debris. A rock inlet traps. These are devices that are constructed around inlets that provide a protection from sediment and runoff. The inlets can become clogged, which can prevent proper drainage, and during heavy storms can shift the rocks around, needing to be repaired. Please report any illicit discharge or stormwater issues to our Stormwater Administrator, Haley Hawkins, at the Western Piedmont Council of Governments. The quickest way to reach her would be through email or contacting her cell phone. And please also feel free to use our reporting tool on our stormwater website, or if you need any further information, feel free to use the Western Piedmont Council of Governments stormwater page.